Okay, so let's go down to, let's talk about one of the harder ones, resilience. I know that over the years there's a fair few times that I've been knocked on my backside. Always got up, but not always found it easy to get up. And we were talking earlier on before we came back onto camera about bouncing back, and I have visions of these like two people in these big sumo costumes like bouncing around.
Like the one I'm wearing right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you and Lex, we could have a real... Anyway.
And that's just not the sumo
bit. But yeah, I think there's quite a lot of emphasis put on bouncing back. And I think society expects people just to bounce back. But I know from experience that there's been times where I've really needed help to bounce back. And at first I used to think that that was a weakness, that I should be more resilient. But again, for me, there's no one size fits all. I might go through something and sort of brush it off and think, yeah, I can bounce back from that, no problem. I might go through something different and it completely wipes me out. And it's horses for courses. I think what happens to the individual
absolutely
is important to them. So for you, bouncing back, is it a natural thing?
I mean, for the mental health side of things, I have my coping strategies, and I went and there was a talk about resilience, and I wasn't really the target audience because there isn't a lot that somebody else can teach me about being resilient in my own frame of reference. I think when people talk about resilience, it's probably more for people that are trying to coach people how to give them ideas, because no low point is going to be the same from person to person, and you're going to need different tools at different stages, different times. I know what my triggers are, and I know what I need to do. My family knows what is going to happen, so that at its worst, it's still manageable.
Can I ask you,
of course,
how did you find out what your triggers were? Because for a lot of people that I've met and that I've spoken to, especially about mental health issues, there's this, I mean, when I first started suffering from depression, there was just this complete lack of understanding. So how did you find what your triggers were?
I think they came to fore when Sammy, my wife, and I, we became a partnership, and then the children came along, and I think you become a bit more contemplative. Although I'm not a navel gazer, there were times where I was like, well, what happens? And you feel that surge of, oh my God, it takes your breath away, and you start thinking, oh my God, I can't breathe. And I mean, for me, one of my main triggers is the lack of security, which, being a small business in a highly competitive industry, great choice for it, wasn't it, for me too?
Talk about challenge yourself.
Exactly, I mean, month to month, certainly in the early days when we started out, and it was tight. We'd lost a business that went to the wall because of a third party. So having that insecurity, it became very evident that that was my main trigger, because I want to provide and want my family to have the best of everything. Not that we want millions in the bank, we just want to have a good quality of life and just be able to do the things that we want to do. We're actually very low maintenance. And I suppose from a male perspective, and I'm sure there are females that would identify, but from a male perspective of being out there, being the hunter-gatherer, so to speak, and not achieving the results that you need in the early days, I could 2 and 2 became 4 rather than 2 and 2 were 5, 6, 10, whatever it was. And I could really sort of hone in on that is my main trigger. I mean, I've got lots of other triggers which I won't bore you with, but the main one, which will certainly get me in a flap, is the security side of things. It's not about money. It's about the safety, about the safety net. And we're so lucky in our country that we have got an ultimate safety net. And one has to feel for others in other countries where there is nothing.
There is nothing, yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but when my children came along, that was a bit of a trigger, because now I had these like 3 little people depending on me. And I also became quite emotional at that period in time. I would watch something on television, and if it had anything to do with children, my eyes would be welling up. And learning to recognise those, it took me a long time to learn to recognise those emotions. And I know that I think there's going to be some people that are quite envious that I'm sat here talking to you about all this kind of thing. Because we see you on TBN and you're joking and you're laughing around, larger than life. But majority of people are quite deeply emotional about a lot of things. And I think it takes a lot of bravery to actually face your emotions and understand your emotions. Do you agree? It can be enlightening, but it's a tough call.
I mean, I don't know if it's brave or you just need to do it. A few years ago I did a talk at TBN about my mental health problems, and that my choice, if choice is the right word, which it's not, is either to let down my 2 kids and my gorgeous wife, or to be there for them, to make sure that they have the possibility. Not that, because in my head I truly believe that they would be better off without me. But in my heart I know that that's not the case, and I wouldn't want to lumber them with anything other than the shit, pardon the French, that life has to throw at them. What I can control, I try to control. What I can't control, I try to move past. I don't think it's brave. I think it's just what you do to get by and get through, and just do the best that you possibly can. And I just thank my lucky stars that I have such an amazing wife and such an amazing family, but also some incredible mates that I've made, through TBN as well. I mean, it brings a tear to my eye just thinking about it.
I think it's incredibly brave, and that's kind of it. We've come to the end of our time, but I want to say just an absolutely huge thank you, Jamie.
Well, thank you.
For
it's been really good fun
and chatting.
Yeah. Fun, isn't it?
Thank you for the insights, and
well, Jeffrey's been whispering the answers in my ear, the last.
I knew Jeffrey had a purpose. I just wasn't sure.
It's just I don't.
Bit of connection there. But no, seriously, thank you very much again, and hopefully we'll do it again in the future.
Absolutely, be really good.